Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Griffin Murphy here from the X's and O's show. We have week 3 college football along with week 2 NFL. I myself, Griffin Murphy, alongside me is August Young, and we are DocSports.com. In this show, we will be chopping up 2 NFL weekend predictions along with 2 college football weekend predictions. Before we get rolling here, August, how we doing over there in London, my man?
Doing good, my man. Had a good weekend. We did the X's and O's last week. Nice 4-0 for my picks back then. So happy to sweep that, man. And then, did good. Premium picks last weekend. We went 5-2. We cashed a 7 unit on the Chiefs, but that was a sweat. Oh my God, the sweat on that Chiefs game, man. But yeah, we had a good weekend. How about yourself, man?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I couldn't be happier. I got August out alongside me, coming out with the brooms. Week 1, 4-0 sweep, absolutely dynamic. I myself went 1-2-1. I'm not going to give him. I told everybody on that Dolphins pick, I said to buy that point down to 2.5, but I finalized that pick with my final play is laying the 3.5 points. So I'm going to put that as a loss. I am 1-2-1 or 1-3 going in, but on the premium side of things, I ended up going 3-0 in NFL, sweeping the slate across college football. I went 2-1, 5-1 weekend. I am currently 11-3 all time this season across all of my football selections when it comes to preseason sweeping, NFL sweeping, and college football. Jumping in right now. Obviously, the boys are hot. Boys are ready to go. And we are going to jump right into game number 1. And this is college football, ladies and gentlemen. And we've got West Virginia laying 1.5, rolling into Pittsburgh with a total sitting at 64.5. This game will be kicking off Saturday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time in Pittsburgh. Looking at these two teams, August, I got to say, Pittsburgh's playing real good football right now. They come into this game 2-0 after a massive come-from-behind victory, scoring 15 points in the fourth quarter to beat the Bearcats last week in a 28-27 final. Quarterback Eli Holston leading the charge. This kid has been dice rolling. He's 50 for 75 on the year. He's got a completion rating at 66.7%, 6 touchdowns and 2 picks. Where I'm really sitting here right now with Pittsburgh is on that defensive line. Their pass rush has been outstanding, and they lit up both Cincinnati and Kent State on that rush attack. West Virginia, they opened up the season having to deal with a very strong team and a well-coached Penn State club where they got lit up 34-12. West Virginia's running back, C.J. Donaldson, was only able to ramp up 42 yards on the ground with 12 carries. West Virginia was then basically set up after that matchup in a tune-up game, which in my eyes, that's a negative confluence coming into this matchup. Strength of schedule is heavy, and it's going to be a team from Albany that Pittsburgh just now rolled over. This is a massive differential in my eyes, and this comes into strength of schedule heavily. Pittsburgh, they love to run fast-paced offense, and their offensive coordinator, Cade Bell, he thrives on this. If Pittsburgh can utilize the run game early, which I anticipate they will do so based on the shockwave going back to the strength of schedule, that confluence is massive. This will open up the floodgates for QB Eli Holston to light it up with 3 of their 4 top receivers returning from last season. I like Pittsburgh early in this game on a sneaky aggressive play. I will be taking Pittsburgh first half on the money line at a +110. August, how do you see this one playing out, my man?
Love the pick. I'm in full agreement. So, look, we have West Virginia, right? They're 1-1 straight up on the season, 0-2 against the spread. Now, in their defense, I'm not going to read too much into that 0-2 against the spread. They failed to cover as 7.5-point dogs versus Penn State. There's really no shame in that. And then, look, they hammered Albany, but minus 37.5 is such a big number to cover. Right. I mean, they still scored 49 points in that one. Now, as for Pittsburgh, 2-0 both straight up and against the spread. And as you mentioned, man, how about that comeback against Cincinnati? Holy man, down 27-3 late third quarter. They pulled that one off 28-27, just unreal. It's why we love college football. So the thing is with Pittsburgh, I love Eli Holstein as well, but I do have some doubts based on what I saw last week. He was extremely inaccurate at times in that game. He went 20 for 35. But it's not like there was a ton of drop passes or slight misses. I mean, he was way off on some of those throws, especially early. Having said that, I still do lean with the Pittsburgh side here. I think they're going to have a ton of confidence off that big comeback win. And this is still an offense. They're averaging almost 550 yards per game. They can be electric, man. Look, I love the number at +3. It was bet down at a bunch of sharp books. It does feel like a coin flip game to me. So likely value on the money line. Whoever's getting points. If this line was reversed, I'd probably look at taking the +110 on West Virginia. I'm like, I have it plus 100, right? So nothing too strong for me, but I'm going to roll with Pittsburgh Griff plus 110 on the money line, and that's where I'm going with it. So why don't we get to the next game? So we're looking at LSU at South Carolina. The line is -6.5, -7, depending where you look on LSU, with a total of 50.5. I'm going to get into it. I love me some LSU in this spot. They're 1-1 on the season, 0-2 ATS. They look bad against USC in week 1, but they had an opportunity to take out some of that frustration at home to Nicholls State. They still look kind of crappy. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Yeah, look, Nussmeier, he had 6 touchdowns, right? But it's freaking Nicholls State. Most top-tier quarterbacks would do the exact same thing. Defensively, I do have some concerns. Allowing Nicholls State to have 31 minutes of total possessions time and 150 yards rushing is kind of bizarre. But remember, these are still guys, right? They only had 62 rushing yards against Louisiana Tech, and they somehow did that against LSU. Anyway, South Carolina, look at those. They're 2-0, coming off a huge 31-6 win at Kroger Field as 10-point dogs. But that brings me to a very important point of how I like to handicap. This is a prime buy low, sell high spot that I plan to take advantage of. Looking back in database history, teams that have failed to cover the first 2 games of the season, now facing an opponent that are 2-0 straight up, those teams are covering the spread at a 54% clip, and that actually improves to 58.1% when the team listed is home favorites. So, Griff, despite some underwhelming performances, I do think the LSU offense is special. I think we see a real breakout here against South Carolina and shocking a few folks. Now, the number's very important. They're 6.5 and 7. I like the -6.5, and that's what I'm advising on this one. How do you see it shaking out?
Yeah, August, you know what? And this is where it gets fun because we're going to have a little bit of a disagreement. And our biggest thing here, guys, is we are giving you every single angle, every probability. Take all of the information that we give you guys and utilize it into your own confluences, your own calculated edge. That is how you win long term, by taking bias after bias after bias, putting it into your own brain, and then navigating that into what makes the most sense. Where do I go with this play? Because on this one, I'm going to tell you we are in total disagreement, and I'm going to tell you guys right now, and we're going to have some fun with it, August. So LSU coming into this game under head coach Brian Kelly, who is now in his 3rd season as head coach for LSU with a record of 20-7. LSU opened up the season with a loss, and it was a form of an eye-opener in my eyes from what we can expect on the season. After a school like Nicholls and USC both scored 20 points on them defensively, it has been clear, it has become very clear, there's issues on the defensive side. LSU has lost a lot of players. They lost their D linemen due to the NFL draft, as well as they lost their star QB in Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors, their star wide receiver. These are very strong players that are all in the NFL right now and all starters. South Carolina, they're starting to roll now. They're 2-0, perfect record. They have a very strong rush game with an explosive running back in Raheem Sanders. This kid is averaging 5 yards per carry right now. And they also have a threat with Lenora Sellers, who is not afraid to air the ball out, as well as tuck it and run at that quarterback spot. South Carolina, they're a current 12-0 against the spread, being underdogs by 6.5 points or more. Meanwhile, that is where me and August can kind of get into a little argument here. 12-0 underdogs on the road at 6-0 or at 6.5. That's where this gets into a playmaker. This is where it gets jittery. Meanwhile, LSU 0-2 against the spread this season. Dating back to last year, South Carolina did go winless on the road, whilst LSU did go 7-0 perfect at home. We cannot use this as arguable information on LSU's behalf due to the fact that they did lose the majority of their talent in the NFL draft. South Carolina's biggest strength right now is their defensive side. They nearly returned every single player from last season and averaged just 26 points on the defensive side last year. Now going into this season, this team has much more chemistry together as a team, as a squad on the defensive side. They just lit up Kentucky in Lexington, holding them to just 2 field goals the entire game. And now coming into this game with a 2-0 record with a point to prove, showing that they are no joke. I love South Carolina here at that +7. So give me South Carolina here with the points. But rolling into week 2, NFL. We've got the New Orleans Saints rolling into Dallas to play the Cowboys. The Cowboys are currently a 6-point favorite. We have a total at 46.5. This game will be kicking off Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. New Orleans, they come into this game after absolutely thrashing Carolina in a 47-10 final, which was embarrassing. We are aware Carolina is perhaps the worst team in the NFL, but New Orleans, they came out of this game in the way they did. This comes to mind. This was very impressive on all sides of the ball. New Orleans went into that game time leading 30-3. Derek Carr, in my eyes, he's never been the guy. He's always been a solid QB. He gets the job done. He does win ball games, but I never like taking a side on this guy, as his inconsistency throughout his entire career is beyond proven. The guy's either on or he's off. It's simple as that. We have to look at defense here. Dallas, they did come out lights up against Cleveland, who's supposed to be one of the league's strongest defenses. It's easily overlooked at the circumstances that Dallas did put up 33 points in that game. Opening up the spectrum, though, Dallas only put up 265 total yards of offense, and Cleveland, on the other hand, beat themselves. They threw for 2 picks, they had a fumble, 3 turnovers in total. So this game really wasn't as brutal as the numbers show. All in all, that loss was purely put on, and I'm going to blame them. I'm pointing fingers. It was Deshaun Watson, man. He played like absolute crap. He was throwing the ball 20 yards over his receivers' heads, or he was throwing the ball strictly at the ground. He played like crap. Keep it plain and simple. Dallas, they did have 6 sacks on the defensive side. They only allowed 93 yards on the ground and 137 yards in the air. Something to keep in mind with this Dallas Cowboys club. They went 8-0 at home last season. They were 5-2 against the spread, one lane minus 6 points or more in Arlington, Texas. So to me, this is another case of a shockwave. New Orleans does not have a tremendous amount of talent on the offensive side, despite Alvin Kamara being an absolute beast. I think this is going to be a wake-up call for New Orleans. Dallas has a strong D-line, and they're known for creating turnovers. If they can keep the ball out of Derek Carr's hands and slow down Alvin Kamara, I believe they dice roll New Orleans here in this matchup with a similar display that we saw last week against Cleveland. I'm laying the 6 points here with Dallas, as I expect them to come out and shock the hell out of New Orleans after they just put up 47 points against the worst team in the NFL. And I expect a welcome back to the NFL game for this team. And I am going with the Dallas Cowboys here, and I am laying the 6 points. August, how are you seeing this one roll out?
We're just disagreeing today, man. I think it's all good though. As you said, man, this is a great opportunity for people to, we don't discuss this stuff beforehand, right? And it's good because we have different ways of looking at things. And I'm going to get into the slight trend you mentioned too, because I have a different way of looking at it. But look, both these teams, they're off big wins, right? The Saints absolutely beat down on the Panthers, like you said, 47-10. They had almost 37 minutes of possession time there. They managed close to 400 yards of total offense. Derek Carr, unbelievable, 200 passing yards for 3 touchdowns, just lit it up. Now, as for Dallas, right, they looked good, I think, with the 33-17 road win, but you're right, Deshaun Watson, horrible. I had a free play on the Cowboys in that one, plus 125. I'm happy how that thing shaked out. It's how I saw it going. I do think the market's going to be a little high on the Cowboys here after that performance, though. And there was a turnover margin that benefited them in that game. And I'm not one to overreact to week 1 results. Now, sure, the Saints' dual threat of Jamal Williams, Alvin Kamara could cause a lot of problems for the Cowboys and open up shots down the field once again for Derek Carr. Now, Dallas should be the rightful favorite here, but this number might be a tad too high. As you mentioned, their ATS performance at home last season, I'm going back in a little bit of a bigger sample size here. So since 2010, Dallas have only managed to cover 45% of the time at home when 6-point favorites or more. The funny thing is, though, when they're -6 or more at home, they're winning straight up 80% of the time. But obviously covering the spread and winning games are totally different. Dallas are a big market team. They usually get shaded, especially at home in those big ranges. Now, this opened at 7, was bet down within literally minutes. All the sharp books, the 6.5. It did test 7 again, was bet down once again, and now it's testing down at 6. The money and the overall handle that I'm seeing is all on the Dallas side. So obviously there's respected action here on the Saints, including myself. I did take some. I'm not huge on it. Don't get me wrong. It's more of a lean here, but I do think the Saints at +6 or 6.5, if you can get it, -120. Is worth the shot there. But I don't fully disagree with you here, Griff. I'm just kind of on the Saints side in this one, just based on a pure value perspective. But let's get into the last game, the NFL. Cincinnati Bengals at the Kansas City Chiefs, -5.5. The Chiefs are laying with a total of 48.5. I got to say, Griff, could we have a game with any bigger divergence in opinion and public perception than this one?
Bro, I swear after week 1, how do you even flip this game and how do you even look at it, man? I'll get my breakdown rolling. I want to hear yours first.
Yeah. So the Bengals, awful, horrific showing in week 1. Oh my God. Like we lost our bonus teaser I gave out because we teased the Bengals down. 8-point favorites. They lose the season home opener to Jacoby Brissett and the New England Patriots. I think that's 3 straight seasons now, the home opener with the Bengals. They lost, or Or that, yeah, they lost, they didn't cover.
Yep.
They couldn't do anything. They only had 13 first downs in that game. They rushed for just 70 yards. Burrow was sacked 3 times. Protection was a clear issue. Sloppy as a whole, 3 fumbles, 2 turnovers, just the stuff of nightmares for Cincinnati, right? We look at the Chiefs. I cashed a 7-unit big bet on that one against the Ravens. I was sweating buckets with that last play, man. Like, oh my God. But in all honesty, having said that, I do think the Chiefs was the clear right side in that one. Red zone offense was a main concern for them. And the reason it was close down the stretch, they just didn't convert in the red zone. I felt they outplayed Baltimore for the majority of that game. And I got to say, Xavier Worthy, how about that guy? Unbelievable performance from him. When he turns the Jets on,
Dude.
wow, right? Just so fast. Now, in terms where I'm going with this one, though, I'm not going to talk too much on the side. I might have something special in store for my premium selections on that. But I do think there is some value to be had on the under 48.5 right now. We all know that the Chiefs, what they can do at home. But what a lot of people don't realize is they went 8-1 to the under last season at Arrowhead. The average line in that was 46.5, with the average combined points scored only 39. In 2022, the under was 8-2 with an average point scored of just 44. It's an under place. You know, you talk about the Kansas City offense. It's always overvalued, especially from a point perspective. And the Bengals, they're going to have to show me something before I think there's going to be points scored here. So, Griff, I'm going to roll with the under. 48.5, I think, is where it's at right now, especially with all the key total numbers that are sitting below that, 47, 44, 41. It's under for me, Griff. How do you see it?
Yeah, man, you know what? We're going to be on a form of agreement here, a form of agreement. And I'm going to explain why right now. We got to open this up with a reminder of the brutal performance, as August just mentioned, by this Cincinnati Bengals team. Opening up the season with a loss against one of the worst power ranked teams in all of football with the Patriots. Absolutely atrocious. Cincinnati allowed 170 yards on the ground. Stevenson ran all over them, and this Patriots offensive line put Cincy on their backs. Play in, play out. Joe Burrow, this is something to always expect. He is always a slow start to the season. I don't know why, but he just never seems to kick it into gear week 1, week 2. And again, we saw a display of it last week. Jamar Chase, he was also a letdown. 6 receptions for 60 yards. That is his go-to guy. If Jamar Chase is not going off, this Bengals team typically does not fly. Now, coming into Arrowhead to face the defending Super Bowl champions, who have already opened up the season beating Baltimore, who is one of the best teams in the NFL. To top that off, Kansas City opened up on Thursday Night Football, so they've had extra rest time. In my eyes, this is where we can find value. We are aware that Cincinnati will spring to the races, but the question is when. We are also aware that Kansas City, they have a dynamic defensive line and should totally sustain this Bengals run game, forcing them to air the ball out and make guys like Jamar Chase be playmakers like he should be. I mean, this is one of the best receivers in all football, arguably. I hate laying 5.5 points in a game where you have to deal with Patrick Mahomes versus Joe Burrow, 2 of the best quarterbacks in football going head to head. Obviously, you lean Patrick Mahomes heavily, but Burrow is still making a name for himself, and he's doing a hell of a job doing it, just not in week 1. Due to the fact that Kansas City has been off for nearly 11 days coming into this game, the Bengals showed absolutely zero momentum on the offensive side of the ball in week 1. This takes me to a first half play. I love the under 23.5 points in the first half of this game, as I expect both of these teams to come out slower in the first half and then come second half, speed it up after that halftime break talk. Hey, let's figure out where the issues are. Let's figure out where the mistakes are. Let's clean this up, clean that up. So my free play rolling into this matchup is drilling that under 23.5 points in the first half. And then we are going to roll into our bonus teaser. August, hit them with it, brother.
Yeah, so obviously the Bengals, as we were just talking about, they ruined the bonus teaser last week. Can we like crap on them anymore? But it was bad, man. Like,
brutal.
Yeah, I'm still getting over it. It was that bad. But anyway, look, this week we're going to go with a 6.5 point teaser just based on where the numbers sit. As mentioned last week, these are purely mathematical. No deep narrative needed. We're just teasing through key numbers here, trying to maximize value. So going to keep it short and sweet. First up, going to tease down the Ravens from -9 to -2.5. They're coming off that brutal loss. They're going to show something here. Lamar's coming for blood. Better believe that. So -9 down to -2.5. For the second leg, I want to ride with the Denver Broncos at home. They're +2.5 dogs.
Okay.
I want to tease them up to +9. So to summarize it, Griff, that's the Ravens tease to 2.5 and the Broncos tease to +9.
August, I love that Broncos play, man, especially with Bo Nix at the helm. The kid looks good, bro. Kid
Right.
looks good, and Denver looked a lot better than I expected. I do want to ask you, August, how did we do last week? What are we looking at with the current season results? How's everything flowing right now?
Yeah, everything's good as always, man. I mean, like since I joined Docs, we've not had a losing football season yet. We're coming off the 5-2 week I mentioned last week for plus $1,200. 3-0 this NFL season already, plus 1,500. Have a 7-unit going tonight, but this is recorded Thursday. This won't go out till Friday, so you guys can check me out on Twitter to see how that went. Hopefully, we cash another one. And I got a handful of plays in college football on Friday, Saturday. I have some NFL Sunday. Nothing for the Monday night game, but yeah. You can check all that out at Doc Sports, my premium picks. I'm going to have a decent amount, probably 5 plays, 4 or 5 plays.
Perfect, man. And I'm rolling in hot right now as well. As you guys can see, obviously, August is slinging and firing, cashing tickets left and right for myself. I'm doing the same. I have to say on my premium picks, and I don't like to talk high unless I'm playing high. And right now, we're playing high. Coming off a 3-0 sweep across NFL, as mentioned, I swept NFL preseason, so I'm currently unbeaten when it comes to NFL. College football coming off a 2-1 weekend, went 5-1 and a wholesome for the football weekend. So we are wheeling and dealing right now, up over $2,000 on the season already in week 3 of college football, week 2 of NFL. And just so everybody knows, you guys could go ahead and grab a free $60 account. Head over to the Doc Sports website. Go create that free $60 account. As soon as you create that account, it is parked $60. You can use that You can use that $60 on myself. August, if you don't like either of us, we got 10 other handicappers. You can buy their picks as well, and it is all absolutely free. I know everybody, including myself, I'm online and I see things that are free, and you're, all right, what's the take here? What's the giddy up here? There's no ifs, ands, or buts. This is legitimately a free $60 account. Go make one, get a free $60, snag August picks, myself picks. If you don't like us, grab whoever you guys want. But to cap off the show, we're looking for another huge, massive upcoming weekend, and we will see you guys next week. We record these shows every single Thursday. They are posted Friday morning. So we will see you guys again next week. Look out for the show, X's and O's, posted Friday morning. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.